Jason Voorhees. Yeah, you could say he's got some mommy issues.
It's all done, Jason. You've done your job well, and Mommy is pleased.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dave Cave. I, as always, am Dave. Now, before we get started, stay on top of all things horror and a little bit of heroes as it comes fresh out of the Dave Cave. Hit that subscribe and ding the bell so you don't miss a minute. Today, we continue on the road to my 31 on 31 ranking and also continue on my journey watching Friday the 13th for the first time, well, at least through the first 9. Today's stop, Friday the 13th Part 2. Friday the 13th Part 2 was released in 1981, was directed by Steve Miner, brings back Andrea King as Alice, albeit not too long, and then brings in Amy Steele as the new final girl, Ginny, and then I'm not going to list anyone else. That's kind of going to be what I do here. Everyone else is just cannon fodder. This film also gives us our first look at Jason as the killer, so giving him a credit, Warrington Gillette. And the story basically follows this new group of counselors that they don't work at Camp Crystal Lake, but they're going to be working at a camp like basically right down the street. And after Camp Crystal Lake failed to open 5 years ago, that ultimately ended with Pamela Voorhees getting decapitated, you have this new group of people, and you have Jason's new reign of terror basically picking up where his mom left off after he watched her get her head chopped off. And man, I know I said it before, but dude's got some impressive mommy issues. Part 2 definitely has some good, definitely has some bad, and yeah, there's just as much splatter as the first one. So let's get right into it. The first thing I want to talk about that I like in this film is that right off the get-go, they kill Alice. She doesn't make it out of the first 13 minutes of the film. We're going to talk about the first 13 minutes of the film in a little bit here, but as of right now, I like that they killed her. They took the final girl from the first one, and they straight up murdered her. Straight up, she gets a very simple, very gnarly kill that just kind of is like, whew. You don't think she's going to, but then you start to get the feeling that she might. Now, having been through years of watching horror movies, I had a feeling she was going to be killed, but going into it, I can imagine going into Part 2, you're like, oh, they're not going to kill her. She's going to be the hero of this one, just like, Halloween 2 was, and there's no way. There's no way they're going to, oh, and there's an ice pick in her temple. Well, fuck. And with that kill of Alice, it sets this tone of anybody really could die. They really could. Because we're going to kill the person that won last time. She won. She got away. There was, you can try to decipher what happened with Jason in the boat and all that, but she got away. And in this one, she's dealing a little bit with, trying to move on from what happened in the first one, which they gave kind of a nice little backstory for the little 15 minutes she was on the screen, but that no one's safe. If you can kill Alice, you can kill any of them. That was awesome. Which leads into the next thing I like about this film. And that is the way they build the tension. Now, they do it similar in the way they do in the first one. But I like that they kind of capitalize on the fact that the first one came out less than a year after this one. And it might be because I'm watching all these back to back. But there was an residual impending doom that you got pretty much when less than 2 or 3 people were on the screen. Really, once people started to kind of branch off, I'm going to go here, I'm going to go there, you're like, okay, that person's going to die. But what was nice about this is that it's not set in the same day. It's not all one night. Once you found out in the first one that it was Friday the 13th, everything's going to happen on Friday the 13th. I said I wasn't going to compare it to Halloween, but it's the same idea. On Halloween, all the shit's going to happen on Halloween. That's cool. That's fine. I can get down on that. But on this one, they don't say necessarily what day it happens. You just know that it has to do with the Voorhees family. And that because it spans over more than one day, anybody can die whenever. It lends to that idea that anybody can die whenever. And they have some of those bait and switch moments where you think, Jeff and Sandra are going to die in the woods and then the cop finds them. You think people can die at any time during the film, and then sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't, saves it for later. I like that. I like that it kept you guessing as to when people were going to die. And then obviously when people were going to die and you really started to see Jason moving through, these people, you get a better idea when the kills were going to happen. But early on when they're building the tension, they're trying to unsettle you before you really know what's going on. I like that you didn't know. And the last thing in the good column that I want to talk about is Jason's mommy issues. Now, I know I've talked about that a couple times already in this video, but I like that he has them and that they touch on the idea that he, for all intents and purposes, is an animal. He's an undeveloped person that he only had his mommy, and then he watched his mommy get decapitated, and then he's been living on the land. I understand that they tell this all in a mythology kind of way, but they tell it in a, hey, we're talking about it like it's a mythology, but this is really what's fucking happening with the guy. I like that. I like that they have him just be not a force of nature, but that he is an animal and he's living off the land and he's just out there, and that he is doing this to avenge his mother. That does kind of lead into one of the things I don't like, which we're going to get to in a minute. But also what I like about him having the mommy issues is that it gets used against him in this one. And that Ginny has this brilliant moment to mess with him because he is, for all intents and purposes, an underdeveloped human being. That he can be tricked in that way. I like that. It added a super creep factor of her putting on that sweater. It was just kind of like, I thought for a second, and this is lends to the fact that I haven't seen this before, I thought for a second she was going to try to pull the skin off of Pamela Voorhees' dead head, and holy shit, was I going to skis out if that happened, because damn, that would have been gross as shit. But I could see why she would want to do it. Luckily, she only stuck to the sweater, but it worked. It was very effective. I like that they were able to mess with Jason's head that way. And now there were some glaring missteps in this film, so let's talk about them. Now, just how I started the good column with the opening with Alice, I'm going to start the bad column with the opening of the movie. You get this 5 to 6 minute recap of everything that happened in the first one. Everything you would need to know. They assume that you didn't watch the first one, which I guess if you want to make sure that people are caught up and they know what's going on with Jason, you can kind of forgive that, but I didn't like it. It might be because I'm watching 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, and da-da-da-da-da, moving along. But because I watched 1, it's like, okay, you just killed 6 minutes of runtime. Which, if you take 6 minutes of runtime off of this film and then you take the credits off, this movie's only like an hour and 15 minutes long. Which is fine. I don't expect these movies to be very long, but it was a waste of runtime. I'm like, okay, they're gonna end it with, showing the decapitation of Mrs. Voorhees. No, and then they show the whole Jason grabbing her and then her talking to the cops again while she's having this dream sequence. And I was like, okay, let's move the movie along because I want to see the new movie. I just watched the last one. If I wanted to watch the last one again, I'd pop it in again. But I want to watch 2. So let's get to 2. And then it got to 2 and it got better. But that first 5-6 minutes there, no. The next thing in the bad column is basically a question. How did Jason, in all the time after he was presumed dead and his mom was doing all the crazy shit at the camp, keep people away, that then ultimately culminated in 1980 with her getting her head chopped off, how in all that time, 1, did she not demand to see a body and assumed that Jason was dead? She seemed very fanatic, Pamela Voorhees. So you would think she would not believe that Jason was dead if there wasn't a body. But then Jason isn't dead. So Jason somehow survived drowning and got out and then watched his mom die. You would think somebody, because we know Jason's got mommy issues. He's got mommy issues left, right, and center. And she's got son issues. They have a very strong connection, those two people. You would think that Jason, with what he does to Alice, you'd think that he would have tried to stop her if he saw what was happening to his mom. You think he would have shown himself to his mom at some point. It does make sense in the mythology. I understand. Again, these are not Academy Award-winning stories here. But it seemed very glaring since they really try to nail on it, the story. They try to really give you the backstory of Jason watched his mom. What if he actually watched his mom? And holy crap, what that would do to a person and all this stuff. And it's like, well, if he did watch his mom, why wouldn't he try to talk to her? Why wouldn't he try to show himself? Why wouldn't they, why would she assume he was dead? Doesn't really make sense. And for my absolute last entry in the bad column, it's the ending. The ending from when Ginny puts the machete through Jason's shoulder and they take the bag off his head and they go back to the cabin. Muffin shows back up even though we know he's dead. And then Jason comes through the window, grabs her, and there is, again, just like in the first one, there's a overly drawn out reaction kind of exposure shot of Jason. I understand they wanted to show him how creepy he is, but it went on for a long time, and I didn't need to see it. I think it could have been more effective if we got that, oh, hey, he's kind of fucked up, and he's gone. Because then you got it up here. You can make Jason look a lot worse up here than you can be shown on the TV, or really at the theater. I wish they would have shown him quicker, just boom, boom, boom. Because you want to know. You want to know. But you want that tease. You want the tease of not knowing what Jason looks like. I understand that through the series, I'm going to see a lot more of what he could look like under the mask in very different iterations of him. But for this one, I thought it should have been fast, especially since they really focus on the fact that they're going to pull the sack off his head, and then you just have the reaction shot on Paul and Ginny. It's like, okay, what does he look like? And then they show him, but then they show you too much. Should have been a tease. And then you flash out of that, and you have Ginny being taken away in an ambulance. And it's like, okay, what is a dream? What's not a dream? Is Jason still alive? Okay, we know the head's there, and we know that the people are dead. Muffin is dead. We saw him get, his shit was split. What's going on with Paul? Ginny's asking for Paul. So we know he's not there. We know that Ginny's being taken away. So is it going to be some kind of same ending as the first one? I understand. There's a part 3, and you bet your ass that I'm trucking toward really strong into the third one. I really want to know what the hell's going on. But as of right now, it leaves a very weird taste in my mouth to end that movie, not knowing what's going on, but not even a good cliffhanger, because it doesn't make sense. Like, what's a dream? Where in the, after she machetes Jason, is she picked up and put in the ambulance? Like, that's the next morning. It really doesn't make sense. I understand that this kind of plays in the last one with being a big plot hole, but it just felt very confusing and very convoluted and didn't make a lot of sense. I have a feeling that 3 is going to try to make a lot of sense. I hope 3 doesn't have another 5 to 6 minute recap of what happened in 2. It might, and that's fine. But really what I'm looking forward to in 3 is getting to see this. I know we get the mask. I know it's coming. I'm very excited for it. And now the time has come. We got the good out of the way. We got the bad out of the way. Let's talk the kills. First and foremost, I am absolutely going to talk about it. We got the return of the confused boner kill. It was a very cool kill. I liked it a lot. I liked how simple it was. But I like the fact that they took it. It's in the middle of a sex scene and Jason shows up. I understand that it's not a surprise because we see him walking up and he's got the spear, but he just boom right through. Awesome. Great little kill. Confused boner. Well done. And a quick little thing that I noticed was if you count them out, presuming that Paul is alive because we don't know what happened to him, you have 10 kills in this film and 10 kills in the first one. It's very interesting. I understand that one of the kills in this is a dog, but that was probably the most gruesome one of the whole film. So that counts. Now talking about the kills overall in the movie, they were okay. There was nothing too crazy about them. They were well handled. I liked the variety of them. But in terms of like the desensitization I feel that probably has happened to me over the years, nothing was really that crazy. Nothing really stuck out. Like I said, the kill on Muffin, the dog, that was gruesome, which you could kind of get away with, I guess, because it's a dog. They didn't really branch off into that in terms of people, but every other kill was pretty tame. Was a slice here, a slice there. Nothing really stuck out except for my award for favorite kill of the film, and that absolutely goes to Mark. The machete to the face of the guy in a wheelchair, and then he stumbles his ass down the stairs. I like it, one, because that is a gnarly visual, the machete through the face. But I also like the idea of the equal opportunity kill of the guy in the wheelchair. I like that they had the balls to say, yes, we introduced a guy in a wheelchair, and yes, we fucking put a machete in his face. I like that they didn't care. It shows you that the Friday the 13th movies aren't going to care. Whoever you are, you're fucked. If you cross Jason Voorhees, you are fucked. So Mark, you win for kill. I know I just said that there aren't a lot of crazy kills in this, but because of that, there are a lot of candidates for what could be a favorite kill. So what is your favorite kill? I know I asked it in the last one. I'm asking it again in this one. Hit the comments. Let me know. For some final thoughts on the film, I like the intro of Jason. I like that we're finally getting him. I'm very excited to see where we go. I'm like I said, I'm looking forward to this Jason. But I like that we have him. I like that they've brought him in. But I thought it was very interesting how vulnerable he seemed. He was very easy to knock over. He was fightable. He kept getting up, but he was fightable. Very simple kicks. He got kicked down by Ginny, and that's another thing that I kind of liked about this film that I wanted to talk about is the resilience of the final girl. She is super resilient. She kicks him down. He knocks him off the car, and then she hits him with a chainsaw and hits him with a chair, and she kicks him in the balls, which I didn't know was in the cards for Jason. I didn't know that that would be a viable approach. Seems to make sense, but damn. I'm aware of the fact that as time goes on, he becomes much more resilient. We get much more of Jason X and Freddy vs. Jason, the Jasons that I've met before. We get more of that leading from 3, 4, 5, all the way on. But as of right now, it was very interesting as someone who has seen him be this Uber Jason. I understand we actually get an Uber Jason, but seeing this Uber Jason and having this man Jason, which was very different. But I kind of like the different. And as I said before, the story gets a little fucky. It gets a little kind of convoluted, trying to give Jason much more of a fleshed out backstory. They kind of let holes happen, which is okay. Again, you don't go into Friday the 13th winning Oscars. But in terms of keeping faithful to the carnage and the suspense and the kills of the first one, and the feel and the sound, again, the music was... I'm starting to feel the music growing, which some people have mentioned to me. It keeps going that way. So I'm glad that it's really keeping a tone in terms of music. That makes me happy. Music's a big part of movies for me. And I gotta say, the Friday the 13th films are growing on me. They really are, folks. I'm still just as excited as I was after the last one to be moving forward. So let's get to Friday the 13th Part 3. And if you missed my review for the original Friday the 13th, I'll have a link to that in the description below. I explain this whole journey and where I'm going on. So if you found me on Part 2, go watch Part 1 and get ready for Part 3 because it's coming. Also down there I have links to my Instagram and Twitter, both of which are at @TheDaveCave_. Post over there when I'm not posting here. And that is going to do it for me today. Thank you so much, as always, for stopping by the Dave Cave and joining me on this journey. It's been a hell of a lot of fun so far. And I think it's just going to get better from here. But for now, get ready for Part 3 because it's coming. Until then, take care.